Let's look at variables and how we use them in problem solving. Let's begin to explore basic algebra, where properties of arithmetic are extended to solve a wide range of problems. Before we do that, let's look at some vocabulary words. The first word is variable. A variable is a quantity that changes or varies in value from one situation to another. It's usually represented by a single letter or some other symbol. Variables are always italicized. Next vocabulary is formula. A formula is an equation or a symbolic rule that represents a relationship between input variables and an output variable. Next vocabulary is algebraic expression or a variable expression. These expressions are combinations of operations on letters or variables and numbers. One property that's important in problem solving is the distributive property. We've looked at this before, where the distributive property lets you multiply a sum of terms inside a parentheses by a term outside the parentheses separately and then add them together. For example, if we want to multiply 5 times the sum of 7 plus 2, we can multiply the 5 times the 7 and then the 5 times the 2 and add those two products together. We can also use the distributive property with variables, which you can see on the next slide. This slide shows the distributive property being used with a variable. The property is the same. How we use it is the same, only this time we're using a variable to multiply by each of the numbers inside the parentheses. When we're dealing with algebra, we also look at algebraic expressions. And an algebraic expression is a combination of operations on letters or variables and numbers. Some examples are 5 plus x, 6 times y, or just 6y, and 3y minus 4 plus x. We want to make note that whenever you see a number times a letter, or a number next to a letter, like 4x, it means 4 times x. Or if you see two variables together, like xy, that means x times y. Now let's look at how we use variables to evaluate an expression. To evaluate an expression, we simply substitute the given value of the variable into the equation and perform the operation. For example, if I want to evaluate x minus 2 if x equals 7, I simply replace x with 7 in the expression and then solve. So x minus 2 becomes 7 minus 2, and that would equal 5. We can also use variables and expressions to solve equations. An equation is a mathematical sentence where two equivalent expressions are separated by an equal sign. The equal sign indicates that both sides are equal. The value of a variable that makes an equation true is called a solution. An equation has only one solution that makes the mathematical sentence true. An example, 117 plus x equals 200. The only number you can replace x with to get a true statement is 83. So x would equal 83. A solution to an equation is the value for the variable that makes the equation a true statement. In this example, we're going to determine whether 2 is a solution to the equation 2y plus 1 equals 3. For the solution, I'm going to replace y with 2 in the equation and then perform the operations. So I have 2y plus 1 equals 3. I replace y with 2, and I have 2 times 2 plus 1, does that equals 3. I have 4 plus 1, does that equal 3? And I end up with 5 on the left side and 3 on the right side. And since 5 does not equal 3, or it's a false statement, 2 is not a solution to this equation.